Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Weekly Sports Hack. Micah Murphy here,
Velarde.
and here we are, once again, another week, fun-filled sports, and we're here to get right into it. We're going to talk about a lot today, but we're going to try to make it quick. We have a lot to get into in regards to the Colts and Broncos. Holy crap, what a game. We also have the World Series to talk about, which I'm always interested in. We've got a hell of a fight to talk about in the Cain Velasquez Jr. Dos Santos and all the undercards that were. And then we'll go ahead and, of course, talk Niners-Raiders, which we always do, which we can always get hyped about, even if the Niners are playing the Jaguars and the Raiders are playing the Steelers, right?
Jaguars, you're really excited about that?
I'm always excited. It's Niner football, baby. So, hey, we're going to start you off with a quick 2-minute drill. We're going to kind of get into the week that was and make it a timed recap so we don't go on and on tangents here. But I just really had a few key points wanted to touch base on after the weekend, starting with Colts and Broncos. I know when we talked last week, that was a game we were super hyped up about. Peyton Manning coming back to Indy, and that didn't disappoint, did it?
No.
That game was pure hype. It lived up to it, from the Jim Irsay comments all the way to the Peyton Manning arrival in Indy, him ignoring Irsay's calls over the week, all the hype that was, and then the emergence and still Andrew Luck rising to the occasion, proving to be a true champion, true winner. We'll see what happens here. But you know what I took away from that game? You pressure Peyton Manning, he's not the Peyton Manning that he is when he's standing in that pocket without being untouched.
And no quarterback is.
You're right. But we've seen this. Peyton has a history of this where he's just flawless. And when it comes to sometimes the big game, get a little pressure on him, cold weather, whatever it may be, he kind of falls apart at times. And, it's really intriguing to see. You have his protege in Andrew Luck coming out being the man that he was, but also having the mobility.
His protege, Micah? You mean the new man in town?
The new man in town. He's his own man, of course. However, look at what Peyton did. He almost brought him back, the Peyton that he was, but he got in an early hole. Not necessarily his fault, but when he goes ahead and gets some pressure on him, he's not the same guy that he always is. Now, we had a lot of instances here where he was playing catch-up. They got out to an early lead, but then Andrew Luck came in, took over. They started playing great football. Peyton had to play catch-up. And now they're starting to talk about how his arm strength is possibly declining a little bit. It's funny, one loss, and here come all the naysayers, including myself, right?
I didn't see a diminishment of arms. In fact, I saw Manning moving around the pocket really good, stepping into the pocket, making great throws. But guess what? The pressure was getting there, and usually that offensive line does its job. Pressure doesn't get there. This time the pressure got there.
No,
Robert Mathis was all over it. They were able to physically give the receivers a lot of trouble, which you're not used to. So the man coverage was working its goal.
Yeah.
They were getting good pressure with the front four. So the defense was able to play a really good game. And on the other side, Andrew Luck was efficiently moving the ball. And maybe that's something that needs more attention. People have been moving the ball on the Broncos.
Sure, and that's what I was going to bring up. We got Von Miller coming back this game, and the defense just isn't what they thought it would be up to this point.
No.
It seems to be getting worse throughout the season, which if you're going to be a championship caliber team, that's got to be toned up. However, getting back into the next topic, we talk about the Broncos, Colts. We're getting into all that, and we neglect. There's still baseball going on, man. When we talked last time, the World Series was just getting ironed out. I can't think of two better teams right now than the Red Sox and the Cardinals, other than my Giants, to be in the World Series at this point. You'd want to talk about tradition. You want to talk about rich history in baseball. These two clubs, they're almost mirror images of each other at this point. You got Lester and Wainwright.
Yeah.
Two pitchers going up against each other in Game 1 tonight. Listen to these numbers. In the 3 starts Wainwright has had in this postseason, he has posted a 1.57 ERA, which is ridiculous. 20 strikeouts against 1 walk. You got to think the favor's got to be with Wainwright, but then you look at Lester, his 3 starts in the postseason, he's posted a 2.33 ERA, hasn't been perfect, has given up some hits and everything, but Boston hits the hell out of the ball. So these guys, I think, are going to put up a little offense against Wainwright. Wainwright's a little bit worse on the road,
Yeah.
And Leicester's a lot better at home. Leicester's 7-1 at home this year and 8-7 on the road. So I think him starting, going on the road. Remember, I picked the Boston Red Sox to win the series before the playoffs started. Here we are in the series. I tell you what, I want to stick to my guns here. I have to. But if I see anyone beating the Red Sox, it's the Cardinals. These guys are always there. They're an incredible team. They got great pitching. Pitching wins championships. I can see this going either way, but I'm going to stand pat with the Red Sox. So.
Do you think the lack of experience on the part of the St. Louis
plays
part into it?
Well, I don't think there is lack of experience on the Cardinals side because they're in the postseason almost every year. And they just have a solid regular season, end up in the postseason. Last year, they were one win away against the Giants from going to the World Series again. So we happened to come back 3 games in a row and won the series, went to the World Series and won it. But if we would have just lost 1 game, Cardinals would have been there, and who knows if they would have won too. So I mean, we could be talking about back-to-back World Series appearances here.
When it comes to baseball, if California is not in it,
you're not watching.
I'm not watching.
We all
and
know
I'm not
this.
hyped.
Leave it to me to get hyped and bring it to the crew.
Hey, last week, I thought we really missed the boat. I mean, we were talking about some games, and the only game that really lived up to the hype was Denver and the Colts, right?
Sure.
But we didn't mention the Kane Dos Santos fight,
Oh
which was awesome.
Oh my God.
For Kane to beat Dos Santos 2 times in a row, I mean, after that first fight, when Kane beat Brock Lesnar, UFC's talking about this guy might have the longest reign in UFC heavyweight history. Cain Velasquez has all the tools, the stand-up, the
Salinas is Cain Velasquez,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And they're talking about how good he's going to be. 1 punch, 30 seconds, that guy's down.
KO'd. We think there's a change. What's going on?
And
Is
then,
he done?
Yeah, and then he comes back and dominates him on the floor the first fight. Nobody takes Dos Santos to the floor, but he dominates him, takes him to the floor repeatedly. Can he do it again? He was the favorite going into the fight, but being the favorite and being 1 punch away from getting knocked out,
it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything in that fight.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said he probably could have ended the fight earlier by just backing up a little bit, but he was too respectful of that power.
Absolutely.
And wanted to just kind of, take away his reach. So he smothered him, had him against the cage.
It was unbelievable. Going into the fight, he was talking about, he was just playing that mental game. He was going to try to, if Dos Santos tried to take it to the ground, he was going to try to stand up and slug with him. He wanted to slug with him, he was going to try to take it to the game. Just kind of playing all aspects and kind of keeping him on his toes, and that's exactly what he did. Anytime he had him against the chains and he was going for the knockout, everyone's thinking, knock him out, knock him out. No, what would he do? He would wrap up with him so that Dos Santos couldn't get that reach and get that one lucky punch to knock him out.
Yeah.
He played it so smart. It was a flawless fight. The guy was amazing. And so, I mean, in your perspective, what's next for Kane? I mean, I know Dos Santos wants to come back and fight him again, which will happen, but who else?
You know why it won't? Because Dana White doesn't want to see Dos Santos get pummeled again. Dana White was saying after the fight, he wanted the fight ended in the 3rd round. And he thought the fight in the 2nd fight should have been ended earlier. And he's saying, hey, I have this really talented guy. I don't need him getting pummeled and getting destroyed and staying in there any longer than he needs to. And he's too tough to quit when he's
That's the thing. It could have been stopped, but the guy's just tough as nails. He doesn't want to ever give in. I mean, the guy looked knocked out half the fight, but he just kept fighting.
I don't see Dana White putting him in there again against Velasquez. It's just, here's what I see. A year from now, Kane defends his belt 2-3 times.
Sure.
John Jones comes up weight.
Interesting.
And gives Velasquez a run for his money. Velasquez is a natural, bigger fighter, super agile for his weight, super fast, but John Jones is a beast.
You think he can come up and fight Kane at that weight and knock him out?
He's going to have to.
Yeah.
If he really wants to make that money, he's going to have to.
Sure. And that might be the only guy who can really step up and challenge Kane at this point and fight for the heavyweight title.
And when it comes to fighting, you're a prize fighter. And you're in it for one thing, make money.
Indeed.
Hey, other things, we thought UCLA Stanford was going to be a good game. Stanford just dominated.
Yeah, that's not a good game.
And I missed the boat. Auburn upsets Texas A&M.
Wow.
In an outstanding game.
Wow.
Johnny Manziel got knocked out of the game because he ran for a touchdown, got hit really hard on his throwing shoulder, comes out of the game for a drive.
Couldn't even throw the ball.
His team goes 3 and out. He comes back, takes him down. Well, if he doesn't get injured, maybe they win, but instead they lose 41-45 in a shootout.
Hell of a game. And that's what Johnny Football is all about, man. You watch him sling that ball around.
Johnny Football slings that ball around.
As much hype as he puts out there, he lives up to it, that's for sure. I wish we could talk about the undercard fights more, but we're on a strict time schedule.
The one other fight that was really good was Alvarado Provodnikov. Was an awesome fight where you had one fighter who was doing the boxing, willing to exchange sometimes, but little by little, Provodnikov it was one of those fighters just determined. He said it wasn't going to be a game about skill, it was going to be about who gave in first, and he was determined to make Alvarado from Colorado cave in, and he sure did because those punches were just coming and clobbering him.
Viciously, indeed. So, before we get into Niners Raiders, we'll take a quick break, we'll reconvene, and we'll get right back to it.
All right.
Oakland Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Oakland Raiders. Just win, baby, win, baby, win, baby. We are the Oakland Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Oakland Raiders. Just win, baby, win, baby, win, baby. Don't need no invitation.
We all know the Raiders had a bye week last week.
Yep.
Hopefully they got some time to nurse some of their O-linemen back to health. We know they've been playing with the North County Bulldogs, Pop Warner football, starting O-line out here. So, any news for me? Any updates on your O-line or where we're going to get some protection from Pryor back?
That O-line gave us better protection than your line gave Kaepernick. I played the Colts.
Okay, we'll go back 5 weeks and we'll start to pick out games from ones we can really shed light on here.
No, it's all quiet. And pretty much right now the Raiders is big focus. The last 10 years since our Super Bowl run in 2002, the Raiders are 0-10 coming off a bye week. This is a different team under Allen. And last year, we came out, and Atlanta was an awesome team last year. We came out and we're in that game. We should have won that game. Carson Palmer throws a pick six. And you see him doing that all year this year again with Arizona. So the Steelers haven't won in Oakland since 2005. So I see the Raiders pulling this one out. And I'm thinking it's going to be a good game. The Steelers' O-line started playing good last week.
Yeah.
They have 2 wins in a row. Their defense is stepping up. And I want to see how Terrell Pryor bounces back from that pummeling he took against Kansas City. The way I see it, Terrell Pryor, if there's one thing that I love about him, it's his work ethic and his confidence. The guy had Tom House come back up to keep working on his mechanics. He's trying to make sure, talking about keeping his ear over his right foot. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you can win us some games, awesome, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about all the football footage he's watching. He's during a bye week. You have 4 days that you cannot have communication with your coaches. So he's at the Raiders facility, but has no communication with the coaches. Just watching
tape on his own.
tape. Yeah. So we have Wazuski coming back for sure. We're thinking Johnny Pashos should be able to come back.
That's huge.
If we can get those 2 guys back for Sunday, and Wazuski is expected to play on Sunday,
that's huge.
That's huge. The center is a huge deal. McFadden got a week off to rest. It's a really good point. And like I said last week, I really see the Raiders pulling out anywhere between a 7-9 season to a 10-6 season, and it starts by taking care of this game.
Look, I think this is a good matchup for the Raiders this week. Coming off the bye, they'll be fresh, they'll be healthy. Pittsburgh's not a great team this year. My only concern is, Pittsburgh always puts out a pretty solid run defense out there. Mm-hmm. Terrell Pryor, leading rusher on the team. That's my only concern right now. And with the depleted O-line, I don't see that getting much better. Quarterback rating of 45 against the Chiefs, so he's got to bounce back. But when your quarterback is leading the team in rushing in week 7 at 400 yards, it's not a positive sign. McFadden should be up there. Just put it in perspective. And nobody has over 400 yards. I'm sorry. This guy was, I think, rushing over, 265 or something. I think he had 287 rushing yards, and McFadden has 265. So I apologize. The 400 yards was receiving. Nobody on your team has over 400 yards receiving. Put it in perspective, it's not a fair comparison, but Denver has over 4 receivers over 400 yards. Not fair, like I said. But the offense isn't there, and the O-line just doesn't help right now. So if you can get some help back with that O-line, get Pryor a little more protection, make sure he doesn't have to be the leading rusher on the team, I see good things. However, it might be a tough matchup. Pittsburgh might surprise us if they're healthy. Raiders aren't. So we'll see what happens.
To put things in perspective, one thing that you have to really see with the Raiders, they've been losing, but they've been competitive in these games, and they've been, against any 8 yards from winning that game.
True.
Terrell Pryor plays against the Redskins, they win that game. Now, who have they played? They have played Kansas City, who is ranked by most people as the number 1 team in the NFL. The Denver Broncos, who are ranked by most teams as 3 or 4 in the NFL.
The Colts.
And Indianapolis Colts, who are ranked by most people 2 or 3 in the NFL. This is a team that has played a top 10 schedule, and you have to remember, they also played the Chargers and beat the Chargers, who are cracking into that top 10.
With Pryor as a quarterback rating of 135 in that game.
Yeah.
So you see the difference.
So if you look at their schedule coming up, they are playing some teams that don't have a winning record, or they've been playing the top teams in the NFL.
Yep.
We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Eagles, Titans will be a tough game, and then we're going to play Kansas City again. We're going to play Denver again. But we have some games that we can try to make up some ground.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, this could be one of those seasons where they go 8-8 and they still end up at the basement of the AFC West, because right now I'm telling you the best division in football is the AFC West. They have 3 teams ranked by a lot of people in the top 10. Number 1, Kansas City. 3 or 4, Broncos. And they're skyrocketing in everybody's rankings, the Chargers, even though they lost to us. We controlled that game, and we were controlling that game against Kansas City at every phase of the game until our O-line went out.
Can you get hyped about this game this week?
Heck yeah!
Oh, you can?
Oh, I'm hyped. If I could be there, my buddy took the season tickets for this one. I did. I thought I was going to get my son's football game. I'm not going to be at this football game. I'm like, I think I might buy a ticket to go to this game.
See, I can't quite get hyped up for it, but you look at the schedule of the NFL this week, it might be one of the top hype games, because there's not a lot of action this week in the NFL. I might be more hyped about Raiders, Steelers than I am Niners, Jaguars in London. Talk about a real football team in the 49ers for a minute. Let's go ahead and get into the fact that, like you said, the run game has turned around, hasn't it? What was the numbers you threw out at me the other day?
I do have to co-host this game with the Weasel Niner fan. That's great. All right.
Indeed. We had something like what? We're at 59% rushing attempts the last game. When in the first few games, we were at what? In the 30s. Correct?
So in the first 3 games, you guys, I don't think you guys even had an identity. You guys thought you were going to have this run and shoot offense. I don't know what you guys are trying to do.
That pistol.
But in the first 3 games, Kaepernick had no yards rushing, so I don't know what pistol you're running. But in the first 3 games, your offensive play selection was 35% run. You guys took those 2 heavy losses. You're on a 4-game win streak. We're at 59% rushing. Like I said earlier, when you guys played Indianapolis, Gore had about 70 yards in the first half and gets like 3 touches in the second half. That got corrected, and your team's playing some good football.
Lost that game. And you know what? You're onto something. When Frank Gore runs the ball, when he's the focal point of our offense, we win.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Gore had 11 rushes for 82 yards against the Colts.
Yeah.
Like you said, 70 yards in the first half. That's a glaring number in the second half there. We lost that game. No touchdowns from Gore. Come back, St. Louis, Frank Gore has 20 carries. What does he do? Puts up 153 yards and a touchdown, we win. Next game, Houston, 17 carries. You get him around that 20 carry mark, 17 carries, 81 yards and a touchdown. The next game against Arizona, 25 carries, 101 yards. Tennessee, 24 carries, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. All wins, all wins. Frank Gore is our identity. He's our workhorse. Get him the rock and he will succeed. All you need from Kaepernick is what he did against the Titans.
Yeah.
I mean, he just 13 for 21. That's horrible. 61% completion rating. That's not bad, but that's not good. 13 for 21. But he threw for 200 yards, a touchdown, and he managed the game. Frank Gore did the work, and we win. You know?
Everything comes off the run. And when you come off Frank Gore, I think an underrated running back in the NFL, fantasy football stud for me.
Sure.
Kaepernick will make his plays. And last week, Kaepernick had a much better passing game. But it starts with Frank Gore. And when you know your identity, and it's defense and Frank Gore. Two things I was talking about with the Raiders. This year I see them having sustained drives. This year their defense is playing much better. Same thing with the Niners. When they run that rock and they play time of possession game, they keep the defense on the sidelines. So when the defense comes out, they're fresh. And the less time that you have the opponent's offense on the field, the less yards they're going to get, the less points they're going to put on. So that ball control, run the football. Hey, Micah, it's old school football again.
That's what we are. That's what we
But-
do. If
but
we
I'm
would have
talking about
had that
the NFL.
mentality in the Super Bowl,
But I'm
from the
talking about the
7-yard line,
NFL. We
It's
went to
old
this
school
passing
football
thing,
again.
but it's starting to get back to old school football again. Top team, in my opinion, are the Seahawks. Run Marshawn Lynch, play some defense.
open up the play action
Open up
for
play
Russell
action.
Wilson.
For
I hear
Russell
you. No, absolutely. I want to shine a little light on my defense this week. What a hell of a game from our defense. I mean, we didn't allow Tennessee to get the ball on their side of the field until like the second half. It was just ridiculous. Our offense was playing great, and our defense was putting our offense in good position to succeed. Tremaine Brock, another interception. The guy's outstanding. He's having a hell of a year at corner, and he's just, I mean, he's a nobody at this point. He's not even being recognized on our lineup. I want to shout out Tony Gerard Eddie, who comes in as, a nobody again, steps in, handles the defensive side of the football like he's been playing on that defense for years. And he's just a stud. I wanted to also shout out Kasim Osgood, North Salinas, the pride of North Salinas High School. Salinas' very own Kasim Osgood with the fumble recovery for a touchdown this week. I mean, everything was looking good on our defense. We were clicking. It was back to what we needed to see. Get to go over and handle Jacksonville this week. I think we're right on track. Finish a nice 13-3, 12-4 record like we said at the beginning of the year.
You guys have a soft schedule coming up. I'm really looking forward to a couple of weeks from now when you guys play New Orleans Saints. That's going to be an awesome football game. New Orleans plays some good football. I was impressed because, honestly, I thought that Tennessee Titan game was going to be a tighter game. Tennessee's a solid football team. Not great, but they're a solid football team when you guys man out. It was 17-0 at the half. Stop watching it.
Anything coming up this week you're hyped about?
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, it's not a big weekend that I'm super hyped about.
No.
But some okay games, right? Solid games. You have Buffalo Bills playing the Dolphins. It's like an okay game.
Oh, we got the Pats versus the Dolphins.
Pats
Patriots
versus Dolphins, I'm sorry.
Bills versus Saints.
Bills versus Saints. Saints should be able to handle that. Honestly, it's kind of a soft schedule this week.
It is.
All the games I'm excited about. One thing that I'm kind of excited about is Bernard Hopkins fights again on Saturday night.
Hold on. We're kind of excited about it. If we're not hyped about it, we're not talking about it. What's wrong with this? I'm kind of excited about it.
I'm not hyped, but I have to mention it because he's about 2 weeks away from turning 49.
That is unbelievable.
And this guy's taking on young bucks, and he's not fighting this great champ today or anything like that on Saturday.
Right.
Still,
He's still in the ring.
he's still in the ring.
Sure.
At 175 pounds, when as a champion, and when he won those records, he campaigned at 160 pounds, and now he's fighting 175 as a light heavyweight, and he keeps winning these fights. These guys are a little bit slower than the middleweights, so maybe that's to his advantage because, like I said with Marquez last week, an older fighter has to be picky about his opponents, and he can't take fighters that have high volume punches.
For sure.
What are you excited about, Micah?
Like I said at the beginning of the show, World Series, all baseball. This is my last week of baseball. It's going to be a long off season. It always is. I mean, I got football to get me through.
Yeah.
NBA's starting. NBA is starting next week. The Warriors tip off on Thursday, man. It's going to be great. Actually, I think on Wednesday.
I'm pretty
the
leery
Warriors
about
tip
my
off.
Lakers season.
You should be, because the Warriors are the new kids on the block, and we're going to come in with Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, David Lee. I mean, we got a stacked team. Andrew Bogut's going to be healthy. Watch for us to finish number 2, number 3 in the Western Conference this year.
The Warriors are a fun team to watch.
Indeed. But
They always are.
This time they're actually that good.
You think they're going to be good?
I know they're going to be good, man. It's going to be good. We're gonna, like I said, finish in the maybe top 3 in the Western Conference. And in our division, I mean, if the Clippers don't take down our division, look for the Warriors to be first in our division.
If it's not the Lakers, why not the Oakland Warriors?
Absolutely,
I
baby.
think we'll wrap it up on that tip.
That's your weekend. That's coming up. And this is another episode of The Weekly Sports Hype.
Kick it!